Joining us now for recommendations for electoral reforms ahead of the 2027 elections. We're now joined by Ezenwa Nwagu. He's Executive Director, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. Thank you very much for joining us on Newsnight. Good to have you. Thank you. Well, I guess the fundamental question is, why do we always find ourselves in this place where we keep calling for electoral reforms? We had one before the 2023 elections, and here we are again calling for electoral reforms. The implementers themselves, don't they have, or do they have this reform mentality?
Well, I think two things play here. The first is that I hear that the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement.
Absolutely.
It means that at every point in time you need to touch up your laws, especially understanding that election is a legal, is a law-guided process. So if it is law, it has to also reflect, it has to be contemporaneous, as it were. That's on the one hand. There is another play of an industry that also has risen from electoral reforms, and that industry is coming from every legislative year. There is a budget for constitutional and electoral reforms. And part of that challenge is that at the end of the day, there are no archives. Nobody goes back to the ones that what has been done, what lessons need to be learned. The one we did in 2022, the Electoral Act of 2022, marked its first birthday on February 20, 2023. And it's not even done 2 years. And there is that desire to, again. Yes, but so on one hand, the desire is legitimate, but we also have to be careful how we don't also always not want to test out some of the things that we have put in place. And that for me is the beginning point.
Great. When you look at some of the recommendations made today, including appointment of the electoral body's head and resident electoral commissioners, how important is that conversation? And how do you take away the powers from the president? Is that even realistic to say the president should not appoint the INEC chairman and resident electoral commissioners? Can we have a system like that? Do you think it's possible?
Well, the conversation is a whole lot of debate that is going on around those issues.
Yeah.
And the preponderance of opinion, it first started with Justice Uwe's recommendation about NJC and all that. And then people are now saying, can we have an independent? All that is coming from frustrations arising from what people see as, the impartiality of most of the appointees into a sacred institution like INEC. But truth be told, and which is the argument that I make everywhere, the president does not appoint. The president nominates. And so when he nominates, the State Security, the DSS first screens and profiles, and I think the Council of States has a play in it, and then you go to a National Assembly that is today one of the most bipartisan National Assembly that we have had, in quotes. Yes, yes, I have to put it that way, but the truth is, even on quoting that will also mean that you have about 40% of opposition political parties in the House of Representatives and about 22% of opposition in the Senate. So it's bipartisan. So that means that they should deal with the issue of those nominations, screening through the different committees that they have. Committee on Intelligence, Committee on Judiciary, Committee on Electoral Matters, all playing in screening these folks. If at the end of the day, they don't give us the best, is it a function of lack of oversight? The religion of oversight by this category of institutions that I've named. So even when you take it out to another so-called independent, my challenge is that at the end of the day, they will still come under the overweight of a powerful Nigerian president.
So it goes back to the issue of political will to actually implement these laws. Not
just political will, but the oversight institutions cannot derelict on their responsibility and outsource it. If the DSS says, if Eze...
Right, very quickly, on the issue of the appointment of INEC chairman and other electoral officers, there seems to be some kind of a backup plan in terms of alternative. If it doesn't work, can we go the other way in terms of taking cognizance of the difficulty of removing the president's appointment power? We can leave the presidential power to appoint, but control it by ensuring that those appointed to INEC are not politically partisan.
We have, remember, because we, as civil society and the media, we have had a situation in which we have put up a strong fight against an appointee. You know, and if the National Assembly, because at the end of the day, no matter what media and civil society does, our work is advocacy. We bring those issues to the front burner. But if those who have responsibility tell you to go to hell, there is not much you can do. And you cannot take away the power of the National Assembly in screening, in, you know, rejection or
giving
their nod on those things. So as civil society, we do our bit. We have had, you know, certain nominees rejected because of their unsuitability, and indeed some of the people that we raise issues on, we are even in court. They had to take civil society to court to say that why are you rejecting our nomination?
All right. Well, somebody said perhaps you should put that quote back on the bipartisan parliament. With the level of defections, you might not have opposition parties anymore.
Exactly.
But Nwagu, we have to thank you so much. Quote and unquote bipartisan parliament. We leave it at that.
Executive legislature. We don't have
parliament legislature.
No, we don't have parliament.
Legislature. Executive Director, Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.